Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning from wherever you're joining us from today. My name's Sarah and I'm the Program and Event Manager at the Reactor in Sydney, Australia. Welcome to a Microsoft Reactor Sydney live stream event. Today I would like to welcome back Ashish Paddy. So Ashish is a Microsoft Certified Professional Architect and Consultant for Microsoft 365, Azure and Cloud Platforms. He has worked for many major multinational companies and has 15 plus years experience in enterprise collaboration and integration solutions. He also specializes in architecting solutions in Microsoft 365, Azure, and Cloud Platforms. So today we'll be discussing Microsoft Viva, a reimagined employee experience approach. You'll see for tonight's session, I have added to the comment section the check-in link with the event code 14975. All the resources from Ashish's presentation will be in there today, including a one form. So I believe we'll expand on that in a minute regarding just getting a little bit more extra information from everyone joining us today. We'll be speaking for about an hour with 10 minutes for questions. However, do send us your questions throughout and we will try to answer as many as possible along the way. We'll also share with you a link to our feedback survey at the end with the same event code 14975. And if there's anything that you missed from today's session, you'll be able to reference it back on our YouTube channel, which we'll also share with the link for. So anything that you missed, you'll be able to catch that on demand straight after today. But for now, without further ado, I'd like to hand the floor over to Ashish to begin. So thank you so much, and over to you.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks everyone for joining. It is glad to be back and talking about Viva again. So before I start, I think we will have the link posted for the responses to collect in the chat very soon. So you're in the links that Sarah just shared. Please go ahead and use the form to let me know how you are using Viva or where you are with your Viva journey right now. So if you can do that, that will be great. I will look at it in after a couple of slides, roughly 5 minutes. So I'm giving 5 minutes for us to fill up the form while you guys are hearing me babble about myself. So without further ado, just a little bit talking about about me and where was like a little bit about myself. I am like in 15, 16 years in industry. I have been doing Microsoft 365, Azure, AI, and all of these things for about those many years. I love technology as such. I'm an enthusiast in learning and using a lot of different type of technologies. So one of the common motto I normally share is uh, go ahead, dream it, believe it, and build it. So if you guys are interested in doing something, go through all the three phases. You will get the ultimate or utmost, what do you say, enlightenment, or sorry, I'd say encouragement out of it. So uh, hopefully you guys were filling the form, but keep doing that. I've not seen any responses, but if you are, that would be great. So just keep using the form link that was shared as the part of the resources so we can see some of the responses as you guys are looking at this presentation today. Cool. So going next, just to give you guys a little bit of insight of what today we are going to look at, we are going to look at some of the common business pains and challenges that employees across the world, organizations across the world are experiencing in their day-to-day work. How is that affecting them, and then we will see how Viva can actually bridge the gap among them. We look at some of the Viva modules and how what approach we can take for it, basically to see what practically can work well as you guys are implementing Viva within your company or for your clients. And then we look at finally some of the content around how you can gain momentum as you start working through this. So so let's talk about some of the pain and challenges that you might have heard within your teams or businesses that you work with. So one of the common challenges, it's like normally it's very common to hear that like somebody has joined into a company and they take a lot of time to just find the right information that they are looking for. So roughly it's like from my experience, I have seen like people take about roughly a month or two to actually get onboarded properly into a job role, either new or either in the same company, switch into a different team. It takes about a month for them to get onboarded. So how we can take about improving that process? There are some challenges when we talk about cross business teams. Like if you have information that are shared across multiple teams, and one of the common example could be marketing, they are sharing information across multiple teams. It's always a hard time for them to keep announcing and the other teams to keep keeping up with that kind of information. There is always a challenge with work-life balance, especially right now with remote work becoming so prominent. People keep on working throughout the day because they obviously have work that they have to finish. So work-life balance is suffering right now. Employees have a hard time to keep up with future job expectations because the reality of the world that we live in is that things are changing so fast. So employees have to keep them upskilled or keep them up to date with the latest requirements that they have in the job. So there are obviously things that people want to do, and they have to come about finding a way of doing it. Managers and leadership don't have insight of situation on the ground. So this is very true for large organizations, because if you have such a big team and a big group, it will always be a challenge for people to see every employee how they are behaving and how they are working right now. Not saying that they want to know each individual in that sense, but they also want to know overall how each team or group does. And employees feel disconnected with an organization because they are working remotely nowadays. So if you're working very remote and you are like for days and months you are working on videos and everything, it's just very hard to realize that you are a team and a group. So if we can do something about making people realize they are part of a team or the organization overall, that will be really great, right? So that's one of the pain that you might have heard from your businesses and teams. So looking at these pains and challenges, that becomes very evident that, you know what, not only the work that people do is very important, but also the experience that they have as they are working through this process is also really critical. So it is really important that people are actually understanding that there is a real importance of experience, employee experience in the day-to-day requirements. So, what does Viva bring us? Viva bring us an integrated platform that actually connects four important pieces right now. One is knowledge and expertise, which is about finding the right people, right content, right information in the flow of work. Now, you will hear me talking about this in the flow of work very much in this session. So, that's what Viva is an advantage of providing us, is like information comes in the flow of work. So, that's one key benefit of Viva. The next one is culture and communication. So, because we are very widespread, global spread organizations, at least they have a real gap in cultures and communication. So, having a way of bridging that gap is really helpful. Now, as I was saying about people working late and work-life balance suffering, productivity and well-being is also a key factor that people will or which will influence the employee experience. So, productivity and well-being is something that we should keep a close eye on, or at least try to see how we can facilitate that. At the same time, one key component is the learning and growth. As I was saying, that because of changing job expectations, users are always wanting to know what's happening with their job, how they can keep on growing. So, learning and growth is another key area that people want to know about. Cool. Now, so how are those Viva modules actually coming? So, knowledge and expertise is basically called Viva topics. Culture and communications can be addressed via Viva connections. Learning and growth can be addressed by Viva Learning, and productivity and well-being can be addressed by Viva Insight. So there are four modules in the Viva platform suite that actually can address the employee experience uh, overall. Now, why four modules? Because these are kind of individual pillars that help in kind of gaining strength in those employee experience bits. Cool. To start with, let's look at Viva Topics. Viva Topics is actually the knowledge and expertise, and it has some key elements to it, like it has some key features. So let's look at that as we look at Viva Topics overall in just few moments. So first thing is ever growing corporate knowledge base. So Viva Topics actually helps you to not always go and tag your documents and find the right documents. It actually keeps on building on existing knowledge base by its own AI kind of curation. It actually curates from a valuable corporate information. So it is nothing new. Like a lot of people, a lot of groups or organizations have been thinking about this for long. And what way of doing that was is always about tagging files or finding or grouping files or putting them in the right location. So that's how we were actually able to search and find information better. But saying that those days will be past very soon, because with Viva Topics, you will be able to get data wherever they live, however they live, and actually get relevant information. It will help you to connect SMBs within an organization, because the one thing about Viva, or the knowledge management overall, is that we always talk about the documents bit, but we forget that there are people also important as part of the process. So Viva Topics actually gives us the gap. It actually connects the corporate knowledge plus also the people who work on it more often. Then it also allows to integrate with 365 suite of services. So you actually can put into a SharePoint or a Teams environment. So basically, you don't have to go to a Viva Topics page always to find things. It can bring information, as I was always saying, in the flow of work, and feeds the latest information and continuous on. So let's say you did something today, you are not required to do it every time. Once you set it up, it is a ever growing process, and evergreen. So it will keep on updating itself. You might have to monitor it still, you might have to plan through it, but basically it will actually be an overgoing knowledge base for your team or organization. So without further ado, let's look at Viva Topics in action. I'm going to drag my screen here. Now, Viva Topics as in Office 365 will come in your admin center. When you go to setup, you will get a tab for Viva, Microsoft Viva. And when you click on that, there will be about connect people with knowledge and topics. Now, this is for the admins who are going to set it up for the organization. They need to come through this way. So go to setup, go to Microsoft Viva, and then connect people to knowledge to actually initially set it up. Because without setting it up, you will not have that information available. Once you do that, you can go ahead, and there is a step-by-step process, but because I have done it in my tenant, I don't need to do it again. But basically, you go through topic discovery, visibility, permissions, and topic center. What each of the elements will do is, first of all, find the content that it needs to crawl and read. Visibility will define who can see the data. Permissions will define who can create and edit that information. And topic center is the source of truth, where the data will be residing later on. So you need to go through these steps, and you need to identify those bits so that Viva Topics can get started in the tenancy. Once it starts, it takes roughly 2 weeks or so. And once it is available, you will end up in a site like this, where you can come and look at all the suggested topics that the AI of Viva Topics has got from signals, from stuff that happened within the organization. It actually kind to keep track of what people talk about, the signals from Teams and Outlook and everything, and tries to build a database for you to actually filter and refine. So you don't have to use it's not directly usable. You have to first look at this and say, okay, you know what, this is right. This is what I want to actually help for team to see. So you can just click on the tick, and when you confirm, it will come from the confirm tab. You have to actually click here to review and publish. So you click here, review and publish, it will open the topic page itself. You will go and update or change anything. As I was saying, it brings in people who have worked on this, so SMEs. It will bring the files and pages where it found the data. It will get the sites here. And once you edit it, because you have to provide a description, so you have to, and for the sake of the demo, I'll just write the same thing again. You have to do this, and then once you have verified every information is correct, you can add more sites. You can relate it to other topics. So you can say, let's say it connects to another thing called market, because I have that ready. Okay, and I can go publish. Once I publish this, it takes roughly about like few hours to a day to get it published and available. So once you have confirmed this, you can go publish, and once you have published, it will come here. And now it is available for the team and the people who have Viva licenses to actually go and consume this data. If you don't have a Viva license, then the users cannot see that information right now. So once you have done that, the data will come up in search. So you can see the data when you are searching for a keyword like here. So if you search for market, it shows up here. If you are going, and it will actually ask also like if this is correct or not, or do you want to codify? So people who are contributors and knowledge owners, they can actually go and contribute to a topic at any point of time. It's not set in stone. You can go ahead and change information if needed as you are looking at the data. And that can be done by every user also. They can suggest changes, and that can be done by the knowledge owners or the knowledge managers. Now, saying that, you can also put your information as tag on a SharePoint site. So this is the SharePoint site, and I have actually put a tag for the topic that I was working on, and I said, okay, this is something that will be helpful for people to see. So you can put a hashtag on the SharePoint page which will bring up this topic pop-up or topic card, and then people can actually go and click on this to see more details or connect with people or look at the resources. So it becomes very helpful for people who are working on topics to just get. Now, just one thing I will maybe mention is that just because of time, I will not have time to go through all and each feature of topics and what it can do. I'm going to show you guys snapshots of what the features are and just like a quick 5 minute thing. So feel free to look at the content and information available from Microsoft right now on Viva. There are a lot of content available on the web, yeah, or on the site or the blog. You can go and get more detailed insights into it, or from the resources that I have shared earlier. Okay, so that is all for Viva topics. As you guys can see, this kind of gives a quick view of what Viva topics can be curated from, and then it also shows how it can be displayed in your line of work. There is one thing that is coming still is in the Teams environment that you will have the topics card available, so you can actually collaborate with people in topics in the team itself. So that is one of the key features that will be there very soon. Okay, so now going back to my presentation. So now we have looked at Viva topics overall at a high level. What are those key highlights that we want to focus on as we implement Viva topics? First of all, you need to understand that there is a facilitating of Viva topics discovery as part of this, because you will be pinning content. The system will be crawling information out there. You can actually put exceptions on sites that you don't want to get called. For example, there must be a very what do you say sensitive sites in your company, and you don't want to crawl them. You can exclude them, so you need to define that topic discovery as part of the setup process. You need to create those topic pages as we saw. You need to identify the knowledge roles that will be working on this, and you need to place the topic cards, because those are four key areas that need to do before your topics becomes really useful to the audiences that they need to use. Having said that, one of the common questions I normally get every time now and then is like, how do we implement topics properly? How do I go about implementing it so that my organization can make better use of it? So the first thing I would recommend is to create a knowledge management roadmap. If you try to do it upfront, yes, that's fine. You can actually go ahead and you can start building it. But having a roadmap really helps, because it will give you milestones that you can check. And because topics actually could span up to the whole tenant, which have millions of data in it, it actually gives you a plan of how you are going to target within the teams that you're working. So having a knowledge management roadmap really helps. Second thing is, put some time aside to actually find the right people like knowledge managers and curators and early adopters to gain the momentum. Because AI is good, but AI is not everything. So AI is going to just suggest topics, but it's not going to put the topics in front of the people. So there has to be check gates. There have to be people who are going to look at that information and validate it. So identify them. So that is a worthwhile exercise. Don't skip it. That's really important. Second is effective change and adoption. Now, this is obviously something really critical if you are going to change the way people look for information and then how information comes to them. So, having a change and adoption plan to support what you're doing with topics and how you're bringing that to your team and group really helps. So, try to spend some time in a change and adoption plan if you can. Then, finally, so not finally, but one of the important points is facilitating communities of practice. Now, this is really important because there could be people who are really kind of uh, know how they know that the content very well, the topics very well, or the information. Like, for example, if it's an engineering like market product, which was a drone, there could be engineers who know more about market very much. So finding and identifying them and bringing them in a group, either you are Yammer or teams, can help actually to in your topics journey. So having a community of practice can really help you to identify the real stakeholders for those topics that needs to be published and owned. Then finally, you need to look at how you can curate knowledge, because this is one of the great advantages of topics is that it can curate information for other systems like your file shares, like from ServiceNow. So think about other platforms and systems where your corporate knowledge lives and how you can bring that across to this topics environment so that it can be available to people to use. So not just limited to SharePoint Online or Office 365. So, what do you need to do? First, you need to prepare and plan for a content discovery, as we discussed. You need to publish the topics. And finally, and the most important one is to use the topics. So these are some key areas which will be available in the slide deck, and I'll not spend too much time talking through it because there's the same thing that I've discussed before. Cool. Now we look at the next module, which is Viva Connections. That was topics which has knowledge and expertise. Viva Connection is culture and communications. Now, if you have been using SharePoint Home or SharePoint for a while, you understand what Viva Home for what a modern intranet is. So Viva Connection actually works on the modern intranet or SharePoint modern intranet. So bring that across. You can create a curated company branded portal via Viva Connection, so that will help. Basically, that's what Viva Connection is. It's a Teams-enabled centralized hub and company-branded portal. So that's what those are the two key elements of Viva Connections. Then finally, it's only not only about in files and having a site. It's also about bringing the communication into the flow of work again. So find out where the communication is done, what news and information you want to show, and bring them along via Viva Connections and mobile enabled dashboard experience. Now, this is really new in Viva Connections is that it allows you to get a dashboard experience on the phone itself. So people who are working remotely or are the remote workforce uh, can actually see the information on their phone instead of viewing a website and they're scrolling through. So now let's look at Viva Connections in actions. Now, Viva Connection overall is kind of a umbrella system that sits on top of SharePoint and Teams. So first of all, you need to have a home site. So if you have not done this, go to SharePoint Admin Center and go to home site to define your SharePoint home. Once this is done in an hour or so, you will see the Connections app. And so you have to also deploy Connections app. So it's not readily available. If you go to admin.teams or your Teams admin center, you go to Teams apps, you can manage the app and you can search for Viva Connection and add and pin Viva Connection. First of all, you have to unblock it because sometimes what it does is it gets blocked. So you have to click on Viva Connections and you have to unblock or select it to allow. Once you have done that, you can come to your uh, setup policies and then basically pin the app in your uh, pin the app in the installed app and the pinned apps so that it will be available to all the teams. So basically then you can see the Viva Connection pin app in Teams for every one of your team members. So once you do that, it's basically a SharePoint site, and this is the dashboard I was talking about. This is the communication part I was talking about. So these are the two key elements of Viva Connections, which is new from SharePoint Home. That will bring that experience. So this one will go mobile, so people will see it directly, and this one will actually fill the feed of data from different sites and locations like Yammer or SharePoint News and everything. So this is Viva Connections overall. This is the same SharePoint Home, and this is the dashboard experience. So once you create SharePoint Home, you will get an option in your settings for set up Viva Connections. When you click on this, it will set up the dashboard, and you can then add content to the dashboard when you edit it. So if you go edit, it will give you a nice view of editing, and you can add a card. So once you have added a card like this and publish it, it will be available and you come to the home page and you can add a dashboard component like that is available now. So if you click on this plus sign, so if you click on the plus sign, it will have the dashboard under here somewhere down. Yeah. So you will see an advanced dashboard, you add that, and basically the same dashboard that you did there will be available on the home page. But if you go mobile, it will automatically show the dashboard first. Cool. Now, having said that, there are also third-party apps that are coming through. So if you want to install a third-party app, you can go to App Stores, you can search for Viva, and there will be some third-party apps that you can install. And if you want to spend time building it, that's also possible to build your own custom ACE cards. So that's what we call for dashboard. Any cards on the dashboard are called as ACE cards. We'll look at it, some of that in a few slides. Now, key highlights of that is set up the SharePoint Home, as we said, set up Viva Connections app, improve the discoverability because you want information to be discoverable very easily, and then look at news and highlights because one key thing that was internet always doing but always missing was that it will not bring information for each of your social collaboration platform like Yammer or wherever the news are going through. So bring that all together in Viva Connection so people can actually get live and real-time data without going and searching for it. Again in the flow, as I always say. So that are the few key highlights of it. Now, having said that, the important bit to this is, oh well, sorry, I forgot about the ACE cards. So The ace cards are the ones that are, as I was saying in the demo, they are the ones that go on the dashboard. They have a different structure. They are not SPFX components. They are different. So even though they work under the same fundamental of like the SPS framework, but the components are slightly different. So what you can do is either use the pre-existing ones, you can install the custom ones from third parties, or build your own one. And basically, once you put it on the dashboard, that is available to integrate. So the biggest benefit of Ace Cards is it can integrate with other systems and bring data from other line of business applications that you are interested to publish on your SharePoint Home or Viva connections. Cool. So some of the best practice tips. Now, this is really important because this is something that businesses and the organizers are not thinking of very clearly. Is that when you talk about Viva Connect, so think about a modernization strategy. Like because it's not only for SharePoint modern sites, but it's also the changes the way the people are interacting with something for its corporate or organizational level. So think about a modernization strategy. How people can actually go and change the way they interact with the current home or current systems or current applications that they're working with. How can connections be that connector and the centerpiece in that sense? Build a communication plan to grow enterprise social communications. Now, as I was saying, that is one key component of it, because until and unless that is done, people will always find that there is stale information or outdated information, which is not beneficial for anyone. So, having a communication plan to improve social collaboration and social communication will really help with your Viva Connections zone. Role and implement overall engagement with Microsoft Teams, because Viva Connections becomes really important because it's a Teams app, and having a Microsoft Teams platform is really the first step then. So if you have not done that, go for it, because Teams has a lot of other advantages, but with respect to Viva, Teams becomes the central piece because that will help you to connect all the modules or information together. Then identify the cases that bring information faster, because there could be things that are people doing either in other systems, and that data can be shown very quickly with an ace card on Viva connections. So why not find those gaps and integration points that you can use to bring information together in Viva connection platform. And ownership is really important, and centralized communication. So if you have 5 ways of communicating like Outlook, you are doing a Teams announcement, you are doing a Yammer announcement, think about how you can have all of that communicated into the connections app. So you don't have to actually go about sending everybody to different locations. Having a single central place of truth like Viva Connections will help in that concept. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to prepare. We need to have the connections app ready, and then we need to get them configuration on the dashboard. So these are some of the key things that we as professionals who are doing this need to be really careful about, is that we spend time doing the preparations. Otherwise, we'll just go and enable the app and there will be nothing. And people who are going to look at it first, they'll be like, oh, what is this? This is not something we wanted. So having a good preparation strategy, having a good communication plan, having a good change plan will really help in that process. So prepare, then you enable the connections app, and then you configure the dashboard. Okay. So these are step by step, and this will be helpful if you do it in this way. Now we'll jump into the next module, and that is Viva Insights, which is all about productivity and well-being. Now we know that a lot of people are working right now in the way of work in Teams and SharePoint. What Viva Insight does is just collects those signals directly from those systems and actually gets them into actionable insights. One key thing that it takes care of is doesn't expose the people information. It actually is privacy protected, so it kind of encapsulates the information of the person, and just masks it, so people can get data out of how many people are doing and what people are doing and when. It gives the organization or department level view, but not the person level view. So it gives kind of prevents the privacy, which is one of the concern with a lot of the people who want to use Viva Insight. So let's not, it will be free, sorry, it will be worry free if you are working about Viva Insight, because it doesn't expose that information. It allows for deeper analysis and allows manager and leadership to look at overall picture of how the team or group are doing. Okay, so now let's look at insights in action. Now insights, I cannot create a proper demo because it needs certain amount of signals and things that needs to be there. But what I will start with is Viva personal insights. The personal insights is very straightforward. You get the Viva personal insights have been there always in the name of My Analytics. That has been renamed to Viva Viva Insights for personal insights. So What you get is a Teams app again, where you get this how are you feeling thing, which gives you a quick, great overview of setting yourself or telling every day what you are feeling and how you are feeling. This can actually help to flow like if somebody or the team is overworked. You can send praise to employees directly from here. So if you are feeling like, oh, you need to praise someone, you can directly do it from here instead of finding the right team or finding a way of doing that. You can just directly do it from your Viva Insight platform. So you can just click on this and then say you want to say somebody awesome, type the name, and up you go. Then you have Headspace for your meditation and virtual commute and focus time to help you with actually kind of plan your day properly so that you don't are spending all time just working. You're actually taking your time off with virtual commute and you're having a proper way of booking focus time so you can work properly and without somebody disturbing you. And you can also stay connected with your team members and collaborators via this platform where it actually helps you to identify who are you working with and how are you working with them. Having said that, I don't know how many people have seen it, but if you go to the office.com, there is a Viva Insight app also available there. So if you search for Viva Insights um, in your share office homepage, you can get that, and basically it will land you up onto a page which gives a quick high-level overview on top of what you saw in the app about how you want to plan. Now, obviously, it doesn't work for me because it's not a real user, so there is some, a glitch here. But basically, if you do it for yourself today, you will find some information. And what it does is basically it brings the same information that you were familiar in your My Analytics platform. So it brings your focus time, your well-being, your collaboration hours, all that information in that same page. And also added to that, Viva Insights is also taking over what we were getting My Analytics email. It gives a very high level overview of how you were working, how many quiet days, what impact it had, exploration. So basically it helps you to plan your month or a day ahead because it gives you reports to work on. Now, saying that from a leadership point, again, I cannot have that because I don't have a user who can be a leader. It needs a minimum 10 people underneath and needs some data and signals. So obviously it's like you have to be in demo environment every day doing something to actually create that information. So I'm going to show you a kind of a click through experience of it. So basically, if you are a manager inside, you'll get a page like this where you can actually go and look at your collaboration baseline. You can look at how many what people are working, how many emails are doing, how many meetings are happening, if there is a chance of burnout. You look at some like productivity, you look at exposure analysis of what people are doing and how many hours they are spending doing what. So basically this is kind of a quick snapshot of the leaders and managers side. If you have the licenses right now and you're getting assigned, you can go and check that right away in your Insights platform. There will be a tab up there, but basically for me it was not possible because I don't have a tenancy set up for that. Yeah. So some of the key highlights: use personal insights to the fullest, focus on work culture. That is really important because if you are not stressing on what is the gap, there is no magic formula. This is one thing that people always think like, okay, if you want to use Viva Insights, tell us how to use it. Frankly speaking, there is no magic formula of it because it very much depends on the way the team works or the organization is structured, how people actually interact with each other. So you have to go and spend time understanding or use someone who knows that and can do it for you. Spend time, understand what are those gaps that you want to look at, like is there a risk of rundown, is there a effective meeting strategy that you want to build, is there a working plan that you need to give for people, like how they should work, and your team should focus on it. So focus on those points, have an exercise for it. It's not going to harm anyone because you're looking at statistics that are very overall. You're not going to quiz people, you're not going to send surveys out. So look at the reports that are already available that Office 365 provides you via Insights, and then plan out what you can do to actually help improve inside the way or the well-being or the way the team works. Okay, so the focus on work culture improvements. Sorry, and at the same time, it is also important to understand that the managers and leader play a very important role in this. So bring in the managers and the leaders of the teams to actually contribute to that process, and instead of just being consumer. And then share your findings. Share the findings that you find overall with the group in a town hall, in some session, because it doesn't point out any person, but it actually helps to kind of rule out kind of gaps or loopholes in the teams or in the overall organization and improve the process. Like for example, if you find one team is really doing well, you can bring that example as a best practice to other teams so other teams can learn from it. So some of the best practices deploy and Viva Insights today. If you have not done it, so do it as an IT admin or a technology owner. Do that. Train users to use personal insights to the fullest, because that's one key thing that people don't do today. They look at the insight but they don't use it. So train people to see at like, okay, there is a headspace, you can go and meditate. There is focus time to help you isolate time for yourself. There is a way of expressing you can praise people in there. So try to train people on personal insight, make them use that to their best. Train managers to use My Team and Effective Meeting tabs. So there is the My Team and Meeting tabs in Viva Insights, which will help managers to look at what their team is doing, how they are doing it, and Effective Meeting tabs to plan our meeting. Now, these two will be valuable if you have the additional SKU for Viva Insights. So it's not directly available, so you have to go and get that additional license. But once you have that, your managers can look at My Team, you look at Effective Meeting tabs, so you can actually go and plan those processes for your team. Create and configure reports to get custom views. So basically, that report that I just showed you as a snapshot, you can create custom reports also out of it, so you can actually improve on what your team does today and get more information out of it. Build awareness about the leadership to review and encourage change culture. So this is one key important. The leadership buy-in needs to be there and needs to be one of the foremost things that we need to get, because unless there is a leadership buy-in, all these activities will only be limited to specific people or group and it will not proliferate across the organization, which is the ultimate goal. So if you want to improve the well-being of the organization or personal or teams overall, the best way to do it is include a change culture, and the leadership needs to be the one driving. So get the leadership onboarded on this as you are starting this journey and get them to actually promote it. So finally speaking, Viva Learning. Now, Viva Learning is one of the key and the newest components out there, which just went GA in Ignite, which will help to actually discover and share content within the teams. Connect to third-party LMS systems if you already have and use one. It will help you recommend and track, so you can actually recommend courses for your team and actually track it. And it actually builds a centralized learning and connecting platform. So let's look at learning in action. Now, obviously, again, because Viva Learning has premium features, I could not get the premium features up in my demo environment. So what I'm going to show is the basic Viva Learning feature. To start with the admin view of it, so if you go to your settings, org settings, you should see Viva Learning out there. And once you click that, it will take about a day or two if you are setting up a new tenancy for your demo or something like that. But if you have a existing tenancy, it should be readily coming up. And now it's not loading. Um, just refresh. But basically, that will give you the settings to actually connect with third-party connectors or actually set up a SharePoint site as your source in case you are using a SharePoint site where the data is. So if I try it again now, something is wrong. So we'll leave it for now. So basically what it does is it actually sets up a learning site for you where you can go and set up the SharePoint content sources. If you'll find a list called Learning App Content Repository. Once you go to the list, you will have an option to create a row item, where you can say what kind of data it is and a link to the folder which will have all that information. What it needs to have is all the content that you want to be available via Viva Learning for people to train on. You just need to put that content, and basically that becomes searchable from the Viva Learning app in Teams. So the first step you have to do is go to here, and now it is available. So you have to go and select all the connectors that you want. Yeah, you can select SharePoint if you have content that you want to put and it's not via another connector. You can click that, and once you have done it, you can come here and go to the content repository, put your SharePoint library you want to crawl, and that basically makes it available for use. Now, looking at how it will be useful in the Teams app, I don't know why it's not available. Um, but if I go to Teams, okay, So if I go to Teams, there will be Viva Learning app available. Once it gets pinned, again you have to go to pin it. It will be available. So people who are going to start with it, they need to select the tags that they are interested in learning. They can select this recommended tags. Once they save it, Viva Learning will start recommending trainings based on those topics, and it will start, putting those upfront here based on what you have selected up in your settings. You will get a My Learning tab where you will get all the bookmark or the trainings that you are doing and you're working on it. And you'll get an admin tab for people who are actually admins to actually create feature sets that can be accessible to all the people and the teams to actually work on this set of training. Having said that, Viva Learning also brings learning in the flow of work. So if you are chatting with someone and you felt like there is some learning recommendation that you want to give, you will get this Viva Learning icon in your Teams chat. You can click on it, search for something that you want to actually recommend to someone. You can select that course and you can just send. So basically, it becomes so easy for people to recommend courses to team members or people they work with. So they don't have to go and create a link, copy a link, and paste it. You can do the same thing in the Teams conversation. So you can click on a conversation and you get the learning tab again, and you can search on it, and then you can search on a content and post it for the whole team to look at. Having said that, you also get an option for a tab, so you can add a tab, and there is some issue in my tenancies, but when you add a tab, you can get to select those courses and basically have them accessible for your team to go through. Now I have some demo setups for how we were learning. So this is the tab option that I was talking about. Once you add a tab, you can write what courses you want to suggest for your team to work. You can put that there. You can put and nominate people. So basically go next. You can nominate the people who are actually going to do this. You can recommend them, and basically what it'll do, it put a tracker on those users that, hey, go ahead and do this training. So we can help them track the training also and see what your team is doing if you're doing it as a manager. Cool, I'll not let it finish. And basically, if you're admin, these are the steps that you need to do. So just on one thing. So you can select that, you can select that. Oh yeah, so SharePoint side I saw. So this is the same thing as I was showing directly. So you can go and click and you can basically set up your Viva learning for your team. So there are a few key components: the Teams app, the chat, the conversation, and tabs that you can make use of. And also there will be third-party connectors that will be available later, and then you can use them to connect the information or bring all your LMS data at one place. So some of the key highlights: personalized learning experience, recommended learning plans. As I was saying, you can recommend learning plans, connect with the learning providers, so you can help them talk and bring information from, like, if you are using SAP SuccessFactors or Pluralsight or any of the other ones, you can actually bring them all together at one place. That's going to be a benefit. And finally, learn in the flow of work. Again, flow of work, because you can actually use your chat, your team's conversations to actually pin uh, learnings back to your team. So best practice steps: deploy and pin Viva Learning. That's the first key thing. So if you have not done that, deploy and pin Viva Learning, because that's the first step to get learning to your users. Train managers and employees to use the respective bits and select and plan training. So because it's so new, it is a new way of doing it. So you need to have some time spent with them to actually explain to them how they can do it better, and how they can plan it easily. So do that, and then basically once you have done that, they can actually then take the steps themselves. They can actually go and do the next steps, but it will be good to train them upfront. Then use the existing content store. So if you have SharePoint repository which has all this training content already there, don't spend time moving it anywhere. You can just use that learning list and then put the pointer there, and it will start crawling that information and bringing that in Viva Learning. Bring learning to a single place. So as I was saying, bring data from other systems that you're already using instead of going and finding other ways of doing it. And get recommended courses and track progress. So that's one key thing about learning, is every time you have to go through a training session or do a whole learning plan to actually do all of that, where Viva Learning can do it for you. So you recommended training, you can use the tracking progress, and if I had time, I would have shown it. There is in that tab, it will show a good graphical view of how many people have done it, who are lagging behind it. So basically, you can track the progress of the learning that you have recommended and that your team otherwise is doing. So it will help you to keep an like a insight of what is happening in learning, because what that's one thing that people normally either forget to do or don't have time to do. Using Viva Learning hopefully will help to increase and speed that process. Cool. So some of the key elements are like some of the key points. Now we have looked at all the four modules and what we can do and how we can do it in a quicker fashion. So some of the key points to keep remembering is that get your intranet up, make it to SharePoint Home and connect to Teams for Viva connections. Educate your users and team members to start reviewing the day progress for the Viva Insights, health and well-being. Change managers and leaders to start planning goals that include connections, insights, topics, everything, because if they are not doing it, there will be a very hard to push. So get them to start doing some plans, modernization plan, the readiness plan, and all this stuff. Review the need of corporate knowledge base. So this is again to review topics. Review the need of how a corporate knowledge base can really help. And I can tell you 100%, like at least 80%, 90% of the time, you will find really beneficial if you have that already in place. Prepare and share learning plans with the team. So don't just like talk about Viva Learning, create the learning plans and share it so people can actually use it to follow. Create a culture of learning. Again, that's really important fact, because unless people are used to doing it, they will never have chance to do it. So that's one thing that you have to put time aside. You have to let people know that Viva Learning is here so that they can start using it to their fullest. So these are the final links, and which I think Sarah has already shared in the resources that were shared across. So these are all the links that are going to be helpful for you to go and quick start yourself with Viva topics, the blog, the home, the learning, the insights, ACE cards, and Microsoft Mechanics is a handy place where you can see some of the demos and videos that were done either by Inspire or Ignite available to you. So you can just quickly over, like with Mechanics, I think it's more Inspire and one of sessions, and that is Ignite resources. I don't have the Ignite resources here because that depends on when you are registered and all the stuff. Cool. So I think I'm on the time. So that's all from me. In case you have any questions and thoughts or process and you'd like to know more, please feel free to reach out to me either on Twitter, either on LinkedIn, and my blog is ashishpadi.com, where you can see some upcoming information. There are two blogs on Viva already there, but I will be posting more because obviously Viva is now becoming more and more of a reality. So I've got good learnings that I can post. So that keep an eye for more blogs coming from my way, and I will be posting and in my LinkedIn and Twitter. So if you want to follow and join me in there, please do that. But otherwise, thank you very much for attending today's session. It was really glad to speak again.
Thank you so much, Ashish. That was great. And just to everyone, we'll give you another minute to ask any questions if you have any. And whilst you're having a think, I'll just remind you all of the check-in link. I'm going to add that back into the stream now. So you can check in via this QR code here. So all of those links that you just saw on that last slide there are in this check-in section. So you just enter the event code 14975 to access those ones. And we've also put into the comment section the link to our survey as well, with the exact same event code 14975, and then the link to the YouTube channel. So if you want to go back and watch anything that you've missed as part of these demos straight after today, you can reference that back on our YouTube channel. I don't think we've had any questions come through, so it means, Ashish, you've answered all questions throughout your presentation. So thank you so much for joining us again today. Yeah. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next time for another Microsoft Reactor live stream event. Have a good rest of your afternoon, evening, or morning, wherever you joined us from today.
Thanks, everyone, for joining.
Thanks, Ashish. Bye.